Boom.
Boom. It says record.
It says record.
That's dope.
Easy.
Dope.
Dope. Have you seen Barbarian?
No.
You've never seen Barbarian?
Should I?
I mean, yeah, since you're from Detroit, I would recommend seeing it. Do you know the premise?
No, I never even heard of it.
Bro, okay, so it was like probably the best horror film maybe like ever made, but it was definitely the most popular one
You
in
lost
22.
me at horror.
Dude, but this one you might enjoy. So you know how there are, I don't know, like 30,000 abandoned houses in Detroit?
Yes.
Yeah. So this dude like tunnels down into them and has like prisons that he sets up for this person. And they end up being an Airbnb. And like somehow the lady who's in the Airbnb gets trapped down in the prison, and it just like things go awry.
No, I don't like that one bit.
Don't like it one bit?
I'm not watching that for sure not.
Well, the interesting it's like a massive commentary on the Midwest, on middle American cities, on places that, you know, in the 60s were absolutely pumping, and then the future looked more bleak. And I haven't spent that much time in Detroit, but the time I've spent there, I've absolutely loved it because, you know, it's like a hat company called like Detroit Hustles Harder. There's this fucking edge to them that it just feels so real. And a lot of the Midwest feels really corporate to me. I lived in Indianapolis for like 3 years, and I went to school in Indiana. But Detroit feels real.
He has a vibe there for sure. It's a pretty unique place, and when you meet someone from there outside, like if I meet a Detroiter abroad in another state, often you can see them with their D hat.
Yeah.
Which is like a giveaway because people from other cities don't usually wear Detroit hats. And people from Detroit never wear other baseball team hats, ever. And so, like, if you see a D hat, they're usually actually from Detroit. There's like a certain implicit connection that you just kind of feel like, yeah, man, I kind of get you. You kind of get me, you know. It's a unique place.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
really
hard
is.
to put my finger on the vibe, but there's a real energy that I feel there that I don't feel anywhere else.
It did feel like there's a pride, you know, like a really big pride, like being from Detroit. And also it felt like from a music perspective that people weren't afraid to not fit into a category. I could be like at a metal show, but then there'd also be like hip hop, and it was like this strange crossover. I don't know if you felt that or experienced that.
Yeah, man. It's interesting, like in the businesses, we're talking like small business owners right before we came in here. You notice they're like, Detroit's in the name of all the businesses.
Yeah.
Detroit Bagel Shop, Detroit Yoga, like everything. So there's a pride, definitely like a pride in it. And yeah, the artists from there, well, first of all, Detroit's contribution to music in general is so asymmetrical to our population size.
Sure, yeah.
So there's a real pride, I think, in all the artists that come from there, myself included. And also, I feel like a little responsibility to like carry the lineage on and not be whack, you know, as well.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
This is probably a good time to do an intro.
Let's go.
Okay. Mike Posner, would you mind introducing yourself? I'm curious to hear how you would describe yourself right now.
Sure. My name is Mike Posner. I'm an artist with a capital A. My purpose here on Earth is to be a leader who unlocks the magic potential in myself and others. That's what I'm up to.
Let's go. What do you mean by capital A?
I mean that my commitment is to inspiration and truth, not to popularity or consistency. I have meetings with lots of people that work in the music industry, sometimes to interview them to work for me, and often I'll get like the feedback like, yeah, man, like a lot of people don't know like how to pin you down. You know, there's so many different versions of Mike. Green hair Mike, beard Mike, walk across America Mike, climb Mount Everest Mike, pop star Mike. And I'm proud of that. That's what being an artist means to me, or what it's meant in my case, which is I have a connection to something bigger than me. That's where the ideas come from. That's where the songs come from, where the melodies come from. And I just listen to what that's telling me to do. Whether you call that God or intuition or heart, you can call whatever you want. whatever you call it. My job as a capital A artist is to listen to that and then simultaneously tune everything else out. It's actually very scary thing to actually live, because at times it has called for me to put something I've built, 5 years into building, something that makes money, and I was thinking like, sacrifice it. Are you willing, like in the Bible, and God tells Abraham, like, kill your son. And it's only when Abraham is like, shows God that he's gonna have faith and actually listen to God, that God says, you don't have to do that. It's kind of like that. Like I have to be willing at all times to sacrifice everything I've built, because this little voice in my head tells me, go this way artistically, or do this with your life, or cut your hair this way. Like I just listen to it, and it's caused a lot of like confusion at times in my life, but also an immense amount of beauty. Yeah. So that's a capital A artist. It's distinct from what I think we have more of, at least in the music medium, which is we have more brand ambassadors than artists. Someone that creates a brand, and you know about creating a brand, and then they create products that are in line with that brand. They create more music that's in line with that brand, and maybe the brand evolves a little bit, but not too much to where it would ever desecrate the brand. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But I think it's distinct from being a capital A artist.
Yeah, man, without a doubt. This actually hits home on something I tend to speak about a lot, which is the juxtaposition between art and propaganda. In my mind, I have like a really intense view of this, but art stops and propaganda begins the moment like you're not at the edge of your skis anymore. So an example I use a lot is there's this video of Picasso, who painted Guernica, but also who, 20 years later is just painting 1,000 roosters over and over again, signing them and selling them. And that to me is this difference. It's like when you are fully at the edge of your skis, like you are facing down the mountain, you're not sure if you're going to make it or you are going to make it, but this thing has to come through you. That is art. That is the artist. That is when you're doing art. And then the moment you take a step back, the moment you block that channel, or, you go down a baby run because it's easy, you're going to get like a flashy thing, you do the same trick. That's like you're no longer in that creation process. You're no longer at like that edge, that pushing like art forward, pushing yourself forward.
Yeah, because you're not listening to source, you're listening to your mind or the market or something.
Or the past.
Yeah, the past. Great distinction.
Who are like some capital A artists that have inspired you?
There's so many, right? And also, like, no one's a perfect capital A artist, Definitely not me. So, I mean, gosh, Bob Dylan.
Can we just jump in Bob Dylan real quick? I've always been so confused by people who, when I was like in high school and stuff, like, oh yeah, Bob Dylan's a horrible singer. Bob Dylan's a horrible singer. And I was always just like, that just blew my mind away. And it's like, he got all of you guys to listen to him. So he has to be like a good singer. Like maybe, I don't know what technically a good singer is, but it's like that was always like shocking to me when people make comments on something. It's like, dude, but it was just pure creation and he fucking grew and people loved it. So like, it seems like it hit pretty well.
Yeah. I in some ways, maybe the quality of his voice maybe forced people to listen to the lyrics even more.
For sure.
Which was really where he's quite singular, his lyrics. But yeah, he's one, man. So many. Paul Simon. What's her name? Maria Abramovich.
Okay.
You know her, the performance artist?
No.
She's incredibly inspiring. Labyrinth. There's so many, man. The world's full of just inspiring, beautiful artists.
Did you ever feel like when you produced or like worked on other people's songs, and we don't have to talk about anybody specifically, but did you ever feel captured or not able to be your full capital A artist in those moments?
Yeah, I'm not supposed to be that in those moments.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be creating a space for someone else to be that for themselves. And literally, yeah, I'm not an artist in those moments. I'm a songwriter or I'm a producer. I'm serving a vision that belongs to someone else. And so, yeah, people ask me that because I've written some songs for other artists that have become really popular. And they say, do you ever feel upset that you did that? Like maybe you should just kept that and sang it yourself. You would feel jealous. I never feel, not at all. It's just, that's the point of that, is like you're helping someone else on their journey. And it's really cool. It's really cool to be able to do both, actually.
Yeah.
Because also sometimes I'll write material that won't fit onto one of my albums. Sometimes I'll write 70, 80 songs for an album and 10 will make it on there. And then maybe one of those songs fits on somebody else's project, you know. Maybe it actually sounds better when they sing it. You know, sometimes I write and have ideas that I think are not best sung by me.
Interesting.
Just like my vocal register or whatever. Maybe it's like more like a belty song, like a bigger voice. I have a calmer, I think, like more breathy, distinct voice. And so sometimes you have an idea that actually someone else can bring to life more.
Do you, like, it's cool that you don't struggle with that. Is that something that people in the industry do struggle with sometimes? Do you think that since you also have had like your own career that's done really well, that you maybe feel more confident in that area?
No, I don't know if people I mean, a lot of the people don't do both. You know, there's plenty of people who are only songwriters, and then there's plenty of people who are only artists. I think like a plague that I see more propagating more in the music industry is just a plague that infests all of us, I think, in like the addiction to more. You know, it's like if I have one hit, I need two. If I have two hits, I need three. And it's really competitive. You know, there's like a chart that not only like we look at, but the whole world looks at, you know, and everyone wants to be like at the top of it. And so there's that I see. And then there's a lot of, when I collaborate with other writers or producers, sometimes I see them looking at what's popular right now and trying to make some version of that, or at least include that in the context from which we try to create something that day. And I find that to be like a little annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not to talk shit, but it does sound a little lowercase a artist, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little small a energy.
Little small a energy, dude. Not that BAE.
Hey,
dude.
man, you got that little a energy.
Yeah. Ernest and Jelly Roll went on Theo Von's podcast, and they were talking about, what was it? Son of a Sinner, a song that they collabed on and wrote together. And like, it was like Ernest was like picking up barbecue or something, popped over for 30 minutes. And then they got a lot of the stuff together, and then Ernest produces it. And then it, you know, ends up fully crushing for Jelly Roll. How much of the creation process of songwriting is literally that? It's just like in that moment, you knock it out, you get it done. For some reason it hits, versus like, you know, like really meticulously going through every lyric, like killing the different suns you see within it. Like how much is it just like, yeah, we can hit it in like 30 minutes versus like I'm refining my essay?
I think it's a healthy balance of both. You know, the initial idea should, I mean, the best ones come through similar to what you just described. You get sort of a download. But then, you know, you want the finished thing to be as beautiful as like the idea is. And so, I mean, I suspect that, you know, then those guys like worked on the production and sent it to mix and, you know, spent some time making it sound as good as it could. You can go too far and start to like beat the life out of something where it actually starts sounding worse, you know? But I don't want to hear a song on the radio or hear a song on Spotify 5 years later and go, oh, I wish I fixed that one. I wish I took a little time on that mix. And so much of the creative process for me is just not letting my mind convince me that something's done when it isn't.
Okay.
Meaning like not letting laziness take over. Because the initial spark is fun. A lot of people don't like to finish things. I like to finish things. And my albums are often conceptual. Often the songs connect. Often there's like, it's a 40-minute journey. It's not just like 10 songs that I threw fucking together. Like I'll finish the songs and then I'm like sort of halfway on my project. Putting them in the order and then connecting them and then what is the story? Like that's like almost half of the time I spend on an album. And yeah, so that takes time and effort. But I think the refining can also be done with a sense of inspiration. You can infuse creativity into the refinement. Is that a word, refinement?
Refinement's a
Into
word.
the refinery. That's wrong.
Oh man, this brings me back. I was listening to you on Theo's podcast, and
Oh my God.
dude, it was Theo says, oh, what do you say? It was something about like your feet being like disheveled, or he used another word, and you're like, I think that's the wrong word, bro. It definitely was the wrong word. Yeah, I don't know if you remember
I can't
that,
let these podcasters get away with
yeah.
bad English,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, that was hilarious. I was like, damn, just calling him out on it.
I hit Aaron Alexander.
Yeah.
He hit me with a, man, like, you're doing so good. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
I couldn't let him get away with it.
Yeah, for
He
sure.
was like, I like the way good. So I said, bro, look how far you've made it.
Yeah,
With
With
good.
good.
Yeah, man. It's wrong, but hey, God bless you.
God bless. It works. It works. If you could go back and let's go like, 21-year-old Mike, were there any songs that you felt like you killed back then, or that now you wish you would have written, like, for that energy, for who you are at that point?
But what do you mean?
As in, like, I don't know, just
A
like
song that I didn't write that I
didn't
wished
write
I
that
wrote?
you wish you had written, that made sense for Mike at that period of time and doesn't make sense for you anymore. And maybe you did write it, but you just didn't didn't make it on the album. No.
Yeah, I don't have any. There's when I look back at my, I feel like old when you say back on my catalog, but it's true. I think I have 12 albums now when I include the Mansion stuff too. I'm pretty picky on what makes it.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the stuff that's out, I'm proud of, and then there's maybe like one or two clunkers in there where I'm like, yeah, this song kind of sucks, man. Maybe if I went back now, I would have cut this off the album.
Yeah.
But overall, I've been pretty faithful. I mean, I'm 35, about to be 36. I started writing songs when I was 8.
Damn.
And the whole time, I've had a rule, which was if I have an idea, it doesn't matter what time it is. It could be the middle of the night. I wake my ass up and maybe sing it into my phone and write it down. And so I cherish the inspiration when it comes. I listen to it. And so I can't think of like anything an idea that I didn't explore musically that I wish I had. I've been I'm pretty actually proud. Now you asked me that, I'm pretty proud of like the connection and that I've maintained with my inspiration. Yeah. Capital I inspiration.
Capital I, baby.
Yeah.
That's definitely something I'm working on, because in just the like space of ideas or like businesses or stuff that I think about, when I don't pursue something like fully to the end of it, and then I start to see it percolate in the world like 5 years later, I do feel like a sense of regret. Like, I'm glad it exists in the world. That's like a bigger point to me. But I do tend to be like, fuck, like I've been saying this, you know what I mean? So that's something I'm working on. And I really like that, no matter where you are, you write that idea down, like you capture it somewhere.
Yeah.
Do you have like a note capturing process system that you use?
It's nothing too elaborate. I use the voice memos on the iPhone. I mean, I remember when I was a little kid, I had with the mini tapes.
Oh, sick.
It's
Like a
called
cassette
dictaphone.
recorder? Okay.
I thought that was like so cool.
Yeah.
My dad had one because he was an attorney and he would like dictate things, and I guess I don't know, the secretary would write it or something. So I used to have that back in the day. But yeah, I just used the notes, and I used the voicemail was in the notes app, pretty much. I also always have a notebook, not 24/7, but like when I travel, it comes with me. So I have the same. I like Mead college ruled 70 or 100 pages. Always travel with one of those, and I like to actually write with my hands sometimes as well.
Yeah, I just got this like the new Kindle from my friend Chris recommended, and you can actually handwrite on it now.
That's cool.
Which is pretty cool, except for I have horrible handwriting, so it doesn't like convert it to text, which would be kind of nice.
Yeah. I'm writing some long form prose, and I like feel really bad right now because I'm like, when I'm inspired, my penmanship's so bad.
Yeah.
When I take my time, I actually have nice penmanship, but when I'm inspired, it's like, and I've been asking my executive assistant to like transcribe it, and I feel really bad for her.
Yeah, for sure, dude. Yeah.
Thank you, Stacy. Thank you.
Shout out to Stacy. To take a weird turn, I guess. So you have a song called Buried in Detroit.
Yeah.
And in it, it's kind of, I think, an homage to Detroit and to your family. And so you lost your father to cancer. And I'm sorry about that.
Thank you.
My father also has stage 4 cancer now. And so I'm going through that journey. And I just want to know, like, if you have any advice for me, or if you could give advice to, the younger Mike, what you to do.
Yeah, absolutely. What is, just to have the correct context, what does stage 4 mean?
Stage 4. So I actually used to work in oncology, like in pharmaceuticals, and did like brand building for a big pharma company. But yeah, stage 4 means that it's metastasized from its original site into usually like lymph nodes, bones, brain, something else, where it's now so spread that they're not going to be able to contain it anymore.
So he's making his transition.
Yep.
Got it. I'll share some things that I think I did well, that I'm really proud and happy I did. And then I'll share with you some mistakes I made.
Okay.
So you don't have to make them. First of all, I like, when I found out my dad he had glioblastoma, brain cancer. And my career was like really hot at the time. It was like right in the middle of, I took a pill in Ibiza. I had blonde hair. I was touring around the world. That song was #1 song in many different countries. And I put that to the side. And essentially I moved home. I lived in LA at the time, and I just moved back to Detroit. And I moved into the house. I sold the house in LA. I kind of wanted to leave there anyways. And I just went back. And my sister and we took turns. So I would come home for, I can't remember if it's a couple weeks or a month. And then I would leave to go work a little bit, and she would come. So one of us was always there, supporting my mom and my dad. And that was actually very beautiful, us like having to come together as a team, my sister and I. So I'm just really happy I did that, I could have just like stayed on tour or something. I have like a little more money in my bank account now, but like, who gives a fuck? So that was like one good one. There's a book, and I wish maybe I'll like rattle these all off, but I'll probably forget some of them. It's by Ira Boyk. I think it's Boyck.
Okay.
And it's called The 4 Most Important Things. I don't even think you need to read the whole book, but it's the 4 things you got to do before someone goes. And really, we should do them all the time. But these are the things you have to do. And you have you're blessed, first of all, because you have the opportunity to do these things.
For sure.
Other people, they die suddenly, and there's a lot of incompletion, or can be. So the 4 things, I might forget one or mess it up, but you can look it up in the book. It's give love. So whatever that means to you, like with my dad, it meant like laying in his hospital bed next to him. We got him home. He was like in these like facilities because he needed like a hospital bed, and he would fall out of the bed, and so we had to get different equipment and stuff. So I had to like make sure all that shit was taken care of, and got him home. And anyways, he had a hospital bed at home. And for me, giving love was like playing the guitar for him. It was talking with him. It was hugging him. It was kissing him. It was, helping him go to the bathroom. It was laying in that bed next to him. It's giving love. Using my words, telling him I love him, and hearing him say he loves me. The second one is to forgive. If there's anything you feel like you need to forgive your father for, like you want to do that now, and tell him, that's like really big. The third one is to give forgiveness, or ask for forgiveness rather. If there's anything you feel like you need to ask for forgiveness for from your father, do that now. The other one I think was say thank you. I think that's the 4. When people are dying, they want to know that their life mattered and that their life made a difference. So you have the power to give that gift to your dad now, and just to tell him the difference he's made in your life and the others around you. And you also want to communicate that you're going to be okay. You know, people, when they're dying, they want to know that their loved ones are going to be okay. And there's an internal tension for them because they know they're at the end, but they also don't want to leave anyone out to dry. So even though you'll feel immense loss, in some ways you do already, you and I know you're going to be okay. And the reason you'll be okay is because of the gifts he's already given you. He's taught you, he set you up to be able to stand on your own. And you have the chance and the opportunity to communicate that to him. That'll make it easier for him to transition. Another like few asterisks that made a difference for me were anytime you leave the room, you say goodbye. Your dad may choose to, and I do believe people can somehow choose, I don't think with their mind, but with their guess, when he's actually going to go. You might be in the room, you might not be. But every time you leave the room, you say goodbye. And that implicitly is telling him it's okay. Another thing that really helped me was my father was really confused. And I don't know if that's the case with yours, but I'll just share the story because it might help somebody else. My father was really confused. Like, he had brain surgery, so he literally got his like head cut open, like a tumor taken out of his head. And after that, some days he would think he was someplace else. He would think it was like a different year. He couldn't remember certain people. And at first, I kept correcting him. I kept telling, he would say, "Michael, who's that person over there?" And he'd point to the corner of the room, and there was nobody there. And I would say, "Dad, there's no one there." He goes, "Yes, there is. Who is it?" "There's no one there." "Yes, there is. Who is it?" And that, our relationship started to just become that. Me telling him what was real. It was real for him. He saw someone there. And we had a hospice social worker that this just like, she gave me this advice and it just like changed everything. And it was so like quick, but she was just like, all you have to do is be in his world. You don't have to lie. You can just allow him to have his reality. She didn't say be in his world. That's wrong. You have to allow him to have his reality while you have yours. So that same scenario would come up. My father would say, "Michael, who is that over there?" Instead of correcting him, I say, "Dad, I can't see them. But what do they look like?" He would tell me, "They look like this, that, they're tall." I said, and then I would say, "Feel safe? Are you okay?" He goes, "Oh, yeah." "Are you in any pain?" "No." "Okay." And now we got to be together. It gave me like that one piece of advice she gave me like the last 3 months with my dad.
Damn.
We had this vacation house on a beach, and it's like is owned by my grandfather, and so like our whole family, like all the Posners, you'd trip out because we all look the same. We all look the same. And there's so many of us. So like there's this house, like it's a really old house. It's like in our family that everyone in our family shares, and it's a really like sacred place. We essentially have a family reunion there every summer for 75 years. And there was one day where it was a sunny day, and my dad was at the end of his life, and I took him out of the room that he mostly was in, and I wheeled him up to his like living room, and we had these big windows at the front of our house in Michigan, and the sun was coming in. And he said, "It's such a blessing we get to be here." And I realized it was one of those moments where I wasn't quite sure what he meant. So I said, where are we?" He goes, we're at the beach. We're on the beach. Meanwhile, like, I'm looking at a driveway, but I got to go be with him, and we were on the beach for the last time, and we just had the most beautiful 30 minutes, 2 hours there at the beach.
Mm-hmm.
So those were some of the things I think I did well, or learned to do well.
Real quick before you go on to the next part, I just, like, that whole time I'm just in my head hearing "Be As You Are," which I know isn't specifically about that, but that's just, like, really coming through to me right now.
Yeah, because you're allowing somebody else to be as they are,
Yeah.
not forcing them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the idea. And that's these.
Not speaking too loud.
Yeah, these things, man, are like, these are things that we should do every day.
Mm-hmm.
That death actually is one of the gifts of death. I hope I don't sound callous saying that, but there are some gifts.
For sure. Yo, thank you guys so much for your time and attention. I hope you enjoyed this small taste of the podcast. This is now going into the paid portion, and I hope that you liked what you got and you feel inclined to head to skmp.supercast.com or click the link that's in the description. You can listen to this full episode and many others. And I just want to leave you with an idea that nothing is free. In every single transaction, there is a buyer and a seller. And if you're not paying for something, I would be careful, because you might just be that which is being sold.